Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of SpaceX Starlink 6-24, launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the launch pad. We're glad to have you joining us here. Lots of people tuning in from all over the world. Take a moment, engage that like button on whatever platform you're watching on, and take a moment and let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. We've got Alan in Eugene, Oregon. Mista is in Saxony, Germany. We got Carlos in Boston, Massachusetts. Ken is just 100 miles from the Cape. Hopefully you get to see it fly tonight. Dennis is in Fort Myers. Great to see you. Peter is in the UK. Alan is in KC, Missouri. We got Windbreaker in Arkansas, USA. John's in Utah, downtown Salt Lake. We got Ashley in snowy Buffalo, New York, and Jimbo in Northwest Arkansas. It's great having you all tuning in. I'm seeing UK, Thailand, California. Great to have you all here. We are now T-minus 9 minutes and counting till launch of tonight's SpaceX Falcon 9. Tonight's booster is going for its third flight after previously supporting Crew 7 and CRS-29, going for its first non-ISS launch. Today's launch is scheduled for 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time. There were backup opportunities scheduled all the way to 2:59, but as you can see on the screen there, we are green across the board, and SpaceX is well into propellant loading, and we should have a live view from Slick 40 in the next few minutes, so stay tuned for that. Once we have it, we will patch that in. We're going to be answering all of your comments and questions throughout today's stream, from launch to landing of today's booster. You can send those to us in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we will work on answering those live to the best of our ability. And of course, listen in to SpaceX Mission Control as we go through the count. We've been keeping a close eye on the weather. We know the eastern part of the U.S. has been getting slammed pretty hard, and hopefully we can break this curse of Scrub-Sember and actually get a rocket off the pad. The last number of launches have been scrubbed not only from SpaceX but other launch providers, so hopefully we can see Starlink fly here tonight on board Falcon 9. T-minus 7 minutes, 47 seconds, and counting till launch. For those that were following along this morning for the return to flight for Blue Origin's New Shepard, we are going for another launch attempt tomorrow, so we hope you'll join us. Scheduled liftoff time, 11:37 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll be going live right about 11 a.m. Eastern, so we hope you'll join us back here for that. T-minus 7 minutes, 22 seconds, and counting till launch. Nathan, is the timer right? We will perfectly sync it with SpaceX once they actually begin their live feed. There is always a little bit of a delay, but everything is proceeding towards tonight's flight in just over 6 minutes' time. If you're just joining us, though, welcome. We're counting down to the launch of SpaceX Starlink 6-24, launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. If you do happen to be on the Space Coast or south of it, tonight's launch is a southern launch trajectory, so you have an opportunity, depending on your weather conditions, to be able to see tonight's flight as it flies towards the south and to the eastern Caribbean. So maybe some of you are watching on a cruise ship. If you are, be awesome. Let us know in the chat, and hopefully you'll be able to see possibly the second stage if you are out there doing it. Frank, you have the best coverage from a technical standpoint. You certainly have done your homework. Thank you so much, Frank. I really do appreciate that. Ian, does anyone know the last time a SpaceX Falcon 9 exploded? It's been a while. A Block 5 has never done that. A Block 3, I believe, was the last time we had an issue like that. So it has been absolutely quite a while, a number of years since we have had one of those instances. SpaceX has begun their live feed, and we will listen into them in just a moment as we count down now just under 6 minutes and counting till launch. We will listen into SpaceX Mission Control for callouts through the count, but I'll be running you through commentary coverage of the actual flight of the events that we're expecting. Today's booster will be attempting to land on the drone ship A Shortfall of Gravitas, which is stationed generally about 650 kilometers downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. T-minus 5 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. We're going to sync our clocks there with SpaceX. You're looking at a live view of Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We are listening into the mission control nets now at this time, so any callouts you hear we'll be hearing in real time with you. And there, our clocks are synced. T-minus 4 minutes, 30 seconds. 30 seconds and counting. Next milestone in the count that we're expecting to hear is going to be the command for the flight computers to take over and begin final pre-launch checks, and for propellant tanks to be put into flight pressurization. That'll be at T-minus 60 seconds, immediately followed behind by the go, no-go from the launch director. Coming down to now just T-minus 4 minutes and counting. On board today's mission is 23 more Starlink V2 minis heading up to low Earth orbit. This is the 34th batch going into the 6th shell of the Starlink's first generation constellation. T-minus 3 minutes 45 seconds and counting till launch. T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds. If you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view of Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where a SpaceX Falcon 9 Block 5 rocket is pretty much fully fueled and ready for flight with 23 Starlink satellites on board. We're just going through the final top-ups of those tanks and pressurizations in preparation for flight. The strongback retraction has started, and you can see that white structure that's kind of hidden behind the fog and vapors right now, slowly retracting away just a couple of degrees from the vehicle. During the actual liftoff sequence, it will fall away to a 45-degree angle, but that has all of the umbilicals that were on to the second stage and the cargo.
Load is complete.
And you heard there the LOX load completing on one of the stages. As always, here at the launch pad, in those final minutes of the count, we want to hear from you guys. Let's see that go, no go in the chat. If you happen to be a TLP member on YouTube, you get access to those TLP emojis, where we have that go, no go symbol. So we'll see that there. T-minus 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting till launch. Today's launch had a 60% chance of go for weather conditions, but looks like it's cleared off well. I know we've got our rocket chaser Gavin down on the Space Coast getting ready, so make sure you stay tuned to our Discord and our X accounts to see anything that we possibly capture here this evening. Coming down to T-minus 2 minutes and counting. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. We're going to listen for these last callouts in the count.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
T-minus 90 seconds. Waiting for that call out for computers to take control of Falcon 9. T-minus 70 seconds. T-minus 60 seconds. Falcon 9 now is in startup.
Go for launch.
There's the call out. The launch director has given the final go for launch. T-minus 40 seconds and counting till launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 20 seconds. Waiting for the call out.
15 seconds.
Waiting for the call out here for engine ignition start. That
10,
will be final 3 seconds of the count.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff of Starlink 634. Go Starlink, go Falcon.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
T plus 18 seconds into flight.
Stage
Falcon 9
propulsion is nominal.
Falcon 9 flying for its third time, carrying its first batch of Starlinks after supporting 2 missions to the International Space Station. Let's listen into those live sounds from the booster. Not hearing them as much as we normally do. Now into flight, T plus 45 seconds. The next major milestone
telemetry
will be max Q. That's set to occur 72 seconds into flight. That is the moment of maximum mechanical stress on the vehicle. Wait for that call out here in about 15
Falcon,
seconds.
Starlink or supersonic? Max Q.
And we have a good call out of max Q, the vehicle making through the hardest part of the flight on stress-wise. Next sequence of events will begin 2 minutes 30 seconds into flight, and that will officially start with MECO. MECO means main engine cutoff. This is when these 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage will cut out. This will be immediately followed by first and second stage separation and the ignition of the MVAC engine, also known as SES-1 or second stage start. That's the single vacuum Merlin engine on the second stage. 30 seconds following MVAC ignition, we'll also have fairing deployment. We are now just about 40 seconds away from that sequence of events beginning. Now, SpaceX no longer provides full coverage through deployment. Deployment is expected 1 hour, 5 minutes, 27 seconds into flight, but we will stay with it through booster landing to bring you that commentary and then confirmation via SpaceX's X account on their social media that deployment did occur. Now, coming down to about 15 seconds from that sequence beginning, MECO, first and second stage separation, SES-1, and fairing separation. Let's listen in.
Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
And there's the first 3 of those milestones. MVAC has ignited. You can now see live telemetry from the second stage. The bottom right corner of your screen. The grid fins are now deploying on the first stage, listening for the call out of fairing separation and hopefully a visual.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And we have a fairing separation visual there. 23 more Starlink V2 minis now exposed to the vacuum of space. On the left side of your screen, the booster continuing to float, now both vehicles above the Kármán line of 100 kilometers. The first stage, you're getting a last look at the Space Coast on the left as it fades off the screen. The first stage is preparing to conduct an entry burn, but first it has to make it to its apogee. Its apogee is expected to happen at about 116 to 117 kilometers in altitude tonight, and that's because it still has the momentum from its launch. Now it's coasting to that point, and then we'll begin its descent.
Vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Begin its descent back down to Earth. So keep an eye on that speed. When the speed starts increasing, the altitude decreases. That means we've had an apogee. Once it has that, we'll be keeping an eye on the first stage as it prepares to conduct its entry burn. That's expected to occur 6 minutes, 14 seconds into today's flight, or just about 2 minutes from now. That's when a number of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage will be ignited, helping slow it down when it reaches the atmosphere of the Earth, and it makes that re-entry. Using its engine, it not only slows down, but helps protect the booster. Keeping an eye on that speed, looks like it's nulled out, and looks like we are increasing in speed, so that is first stage apogee, the booster now descending back down to the Kármán line and then back down to the Earth's atmosphere, going for a landing, its third landing since it's its third launch, targeting the drone ship A Shortfall of Gravitas, which is stationed about 650 kilometers downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. T plus 4 minutes, 53 seconds into flight. The second stage now traveling over 11,000 kilometers an hour, passing 149 kilometers in altitude on its way to its initial deployment orbit. Once it has its initial orbit, it'll deploy, and then the Starlink satellites over the next couple of weeks will maneuver into their final deployment positioning, and that's where they will then be checked out and activated into the constellation.
Both vehicles continuing to follow a nominal trajectory.
T plus 5 minutes, 26 seconds into flight. The first stage now descending through the Kármán line, back now re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. We are waiting for that entry burn to begin. That's now just less than 45 seconds. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live. But also make sure to subscribe here on YouTube so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, or return to Earth. We invite you to join us back here tomorrow, not too bright and early, for another launch attempt of Blue Origin's New Shepard for its return to flight. As we are 14 seconds away from that entry burn, let's listen for the call out of first stage entry burn and shutdown. It's expected to be a 16-second burn tonight.
Stage 1, entry burn, startup.
Stage 1, FTS has saved.
Stage 1, entry burn, shutdown.
Stage 2, FTS has saved.
And you heard there a couple of call-outs important. First, a good entry burn. We could see a visual of that. We also heard that the safing of the flight termination on the
Stages are on a nominal trajectory.
first and second stage. Keep an eye on that speed. We are currently still traveling over 5,600 kilometers an hour down towards the drone ship with less than 30 kilometers of altitude. But watch that speed as it kills off by just using the grid fins and the booster itself. There is no active propulsion on the vehicle at this time as it kills off that speed approaching the drone ship. We are expecting the first stage landing burn to begin 8 minutes, 6 seconds into flight, or just under a minute from now. If you haven't yet, make sure you join us over on the TLP Discord. That's where our community hangs out in between launches, and we'd love to see you in there. It's free to join. And if you like what we do, consider hitting that join button or heading on over to Patreon. That really does help support our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together as we work to strive to bring you the best possible coverage of everything space, not just from SpaceX, but from every launch company around the world. We've got some big plans for 2024 and are already preparing for Artemis 2 and 3, so we hope that you will join us as part of our community. 7 minutes, 50 seconds into flight, awaiting for the call out of the first stage landing burn. Tonight's burn expected to last 22 seconds for the landing on the drone ship. That expected in just a couple of seconds from now.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1, landing burn. Stage 1, landing leg deploy.
And a perfect landing of booster 1081, completing its third flight. We'll listen to see if we get the call out of SECO 1. That's expected to occur 8 minutes, 44 seconds into flight, and that'll be the call out of MVAC ignition, engine shutdown. And there we have that call out confirmed. The second stage is now in a coast phase. It will conduct one more burn 54 minutes, 9 seconds into flight, but they will not be covering that live here this evening. And that's going to do it for us here tonight. Starlink will be deployed 1 hour, 5 minutes, 27 seconds into flight. You can follow along for confirmation on SpaceX's social media or ours. We hope that you'll join us over on the Discord and subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage. It is a launch day, but you don't even need the launch day promo code on the shop. We have got our Christmas promo on, 15% off everything, no promo code needed, so definitely check out the shop as well. That's going to do it for me tonight from our TLP Canada studio. I hope you'll join us here tomorrow for the launch attempt of Blue Origin New Shepard, the first flight in 463 days. Blue Origin is targeting a liftoff time of 11:37 a.m. Eastern Time. We're also tracking the launch attempt from Vandenberg with Firefly targeting on Wednesday, and a Soyuz targeting on Thursday. So stay tuned for that live launch coverage right here on the launch pad. But from our TLP Canada studios, my name's Zach, and we'll see you on Discord or next time, because space is better together. Good night.